welcome to the Content Clubhouse podcast presented by The First Call. My name is Nathan Moore, and this week I got the awesome opportunity to speak with Nick Dimengo, former senior editor of instruction at golf.com/golf magazine, turned entrepreneur with his new golf brand, Rainmakers Golf Club, that in addition to being a YouTube, Instagram, TikTok social channel, is also a much bigger golf content business. He and I get into the weeds of running that from the ground up, getting started fresh, and building his new business with the connections that he had from his past lives, as well as the challenging and perhaps scary jump it was to leave an established career at one of the biggest golf magazines in the world to chase his dream with something new. So with that, here's our conversation with Nick Dimengo. Welcome back to another episode of the Content Clubhouse podcast presented by The First Call. My name is Nathan Moore, and I'm very pleased to be joined today by Nick Dimengo, former senior editor at Golf Magazine, and now one of the founders and guys behind a brand new golf content brand called Rainmakers Golf Club. Nick, it's awesome to have you on. I know you and I have had a lot of conversations recently, about the work that you guys are doing and kind of this new step in your career. And that's kind of where I wanted to start. You were previously, again, that's how I think I first interacted with you. You were the senior editor or a senior editor at Golf Magazine, a job that many who love golf would dream of, but you ultimately stepped away to chase a different dream with Rainmakers. So it's a relatively new concept, at least to me and probably a lot of these people listening. So to start us off, tell us about Rainmakers, introduce us to this platform that you guys are creating and what it's all about.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on, Nate, first and foremost, but you said it best. I mean, so many people who love golf would have given a left arm to be where I was and at Golf Magazine. And I remember interviewing and my former boss, when I asked him how would people describe it, it was like, it's a dream job. I mean, you get to travel to, as many golf tournaments as you want, and you get to play golf for a living. And as the instruction editor there, I was literally blessed to be around 200 some of the best golf teachers in the country. And I think that started my journey towards what Rainmakers became, because I developed such a great relationship with them. And ultimately it led me to say, well, wait a second, why can't I do this on my own, build a brand around it, and remind people how hard golf is, right? I mean, so many things that people see on Instagram or YouTube, it's so perfect. Golf is an imperfect game. Like, you can't get a minute slice tip, take that to the range, and then automatically your slice is gone, right? You have to go through the journey. And I think, where I was, it was very, let's just get as much content as possible. Let's make these teachers seem as smart as possible with the tips and roll them out as fast as you can. I think what we're doing with Rainmakers, which I'm really proud of, is we're kind of humanizing the game and reminding people that, myself, very average golfer, never broken 80. It's my goal to do that sometime, hopefully this year. I said that same goal 2 years ago, and I'm still waiting for it to happen. But to remind people that, these teachers, they don't only work with some of the top players in the world, but they work every single day. 90% of the people are me and you, right? The guys who have yips and don't know how to get rid of it, or they don't know where the low point of the club is, or they don't even know the fundamentals of weak versus strong grip, and really using myself as sort of the guinea pig to give that golf instruction. That's sort of what Rainmakers is aiming to be.
Yeah, man. So you're super deep into the instruction side of golf, right? That's what you were doing with Golf Magazine, golf.com, and certainly still kind of the lens that you're operating through at Rainmakers. And what's interesting about that is that's kind of the OG YouTube golf thing, right? If you think about like the first people who were really making golf content, like that's what it was. It was that pretty hardcore instruction. But you fast forward to today where, you're not out here breaking 50 with celebrities and whatever, playing with a 7-iron from the front tees and see what you score, like all cool things, nothing wrong with that, but it's gravitated to a much different style of content. And yet you're not filming with celebrities, at least as of yet. You're filming with teaching pros and some pro golfers, and we'll talk a little bit about that too, because it's really cool. But what is it about the instruction side of things that really attracted you to want to do that type of content?
I think at the end of the day, it was validation. I continue to say that that is our big differentiator. Um, Everywhere I've been in mainstream media and digital publishing for 16 years. You know, cut my teeth at Maxim Magazine, went to Bleacher Report, Bro Bible, rebranded FHM, started my own content marketing agency, and worked with a bevy of clients. And now with Rainmakers, I always preach access over excess. And I thought that what I saw on social media in the golf space, and again, there's nothing wrong. We're all supporting each other. I'd like to think, yes, we're competitive, but at the end of the day, our North Star should all be we want the game to be fun. That should be the point of entry for all of us. But I didn't see anything out there that I thought, well, if I'm watching 30 minutes of a golf video, what am I really learning from somebody who isn't a pro player? Now, some of these guys are great. They're scratch golfers. You know, some of the names out there that I'm sure you and I know and watch, they're very good players. But they're also guys who like, there's the power of editing. You know, I mean, it's you slice a couple balls off the tee and it's like, all right, let's do another take. So you don't actually have a 7 on this par 4. Let's make it where it's like maybe you just got a 5, right? Um, and I think for me, the validation came from having those teachers and their accolades. They're helping carry the brand. I'm kind of there to help manage everything and do the content strategy and ideas and provide a platform for many of these people. But I think that's what helps differentiate Rainmakers is we have access to the best teachers in the world um, at the best clubs who have worked with some of the top players, and if not with the top players, know the teachers who work with the top players, and having that type of access is invaluable to help us grow our brand.
Yeah, and it's those connections that I kind of want to peel back and take a look at because you're starting something relatively new with Rainmakers, but you're not exactly starting from scratch, right? Because of the connections and the experience you've had in your past work lives with golf.com and other places. So can you kind of tell us a little bit more about, how those experiences have helped prepare you for what you're trying to do now? I mean, because again, on episode 5 here of this podcast, I'm thrilled that you're on here, and I'm trying to get anybody and everybody that can come on to do it. But I'd love to start with Justin Thomas and Xander Schauffele, which I can't do, but you kind of did in some ways. I mean, I think like your 6th video on your TikTok page is with major champions. So what has that been like growing this kind of with the foundation that you'd already built?
Yeah, I mean, I said it when I was at Golf Magazine and have preached it ever since. And I even said it today. Like, Rainmakers is not about me. If I wanted to make a YouTube channel called Nick Dimengo Golf, I could do it, and I'd have to be in every video. As you know, I'm a dad to the most precious 19-month-old daughter. My wife and I are
Congratulations
talking about,
again.
thank you. My wife and I are talking about having another one, at some point. And I think at my age, at 40, um, I don't know how it would go over if I told my wife, "Hey, I'm gonna leave my ultimate dream job at Golf Magazine to become a influencer at 40 years old." You can see the gray in my beard. I don't think that would go over very well. So I always have kind of relied on those relationships to say this has to be a tag team effort. Like my day to day is obviously growing the business and having those relationships and being on phone calls literally like 9 hours a day, which can be exhausting, but it's like, it's not to go play golf every day necessarily. Sometimes it's to set up golf trips to go for 3 or 4 days and then work around, okay, if it's just me, who do I have in the pipeline to potentially come play with? Is there a teacher nearby that we can film with? Or is it just going to be me and we do some stuff where it's like, again, small challenges. Hey, can I finally break 80 at this, former PGA championship host golf course kind of thing? Like there's a little bit of a hook there. And so with those relationships, I've always said the teachers have been aunts and uncles to me in 2.5, 3 years that I've known them. So it was kind of a natural progression for me to transition from Golf Magazine and then allow them to do something that they needed, which was ultimately getting content. A lot of those guys, and yourself included, like your podcast could be great enough to have millions of eyeballs. Problem is, not enough people know you to get there yet, right? And so for me, it's like I want to lend my hand to those people to say, we come film with you. You guys are giving us the access. You're giving us access to golf courses that I've stood on the range next to Charlie and Tiger Woods at, or we're going to golf courses that Xander and Justin and Nick Dunlap and Cam Young are ambassadors at. That is, again, invaluable to somebody like myself. But now it's my goal to figure out what that content is, how to package that content, where that's going to be distributed, so that it's not just okay, only Rainmakers, but for everybody to kind of win. And it's I sound like a broken record sometimes to people who know me and hear me talk. Um, but I'm, going to Kentucky, I'm obviously a Coach Cal fan, obviously not there anymore. But on the documentary for the 30 for 30, he used to preach to all his players, everybody eats. Everybody eats. And once, you sacrifice at Kentucky, you go to the NBA and become a first round pick. That's how I look at Rainmakers. I want everybody to eat. I want everybody to win. I don't want these guys to invest thousands of dollars in a daily shoot. I want to do it so that we can collaborate and grow together. And I think that it's a good message for the guys that I have relationships with, whether it's golf courses, teachers, or players, because to them it's like you just show up and play golf, and it's relaxed and it's casual and it's fun. And again, our North Star is to help people enjoy the game and get better. So again, just do what you do. That's all you have to do to show up.
Yeah. Well, before we kind of turn to really what you guys have been up to with Rainmakers and a lot of, what's coming up next, I do want to return to something you mentioned kind of about talking to your wife and saying, how would I explain if I'm saying, yep, I'm quitting this, awesome job to become an influencer, which is not quite what you're doing, but you did, leave what is a very established job. And I just wanted to ask, kind of friend to friend, honestly, like how scary was that? I mean, which obviously you have a lot of other experiences and professional experiences to lean on with that. But, again, to leave what is an established job to pursue something that you obviously enjoy doing, I'd just love for you to take us inside that thought process and what, if any, fears you had about starting it.
So buddy to buddy, zero fears. I don't want to sound like I'm freaking, NFL player hyping myself up before a Super Bowl, but I truly believe I was built for this. I'm so passionate about what I do, and that passion just wasn't being fulfilled at golf. And there was an imposter syndrome, like early January when the PGA show was coming up, and I was going to go down to Orlando from Seattle. And I remember my wife taking me to the airport, and I said to her, "Can I tell you something that's probably going to surprise you?" And she goes, "You're nervous as hell." I said, "How did you know?" She goes, "I could kind of tell, but also like you're not the golf magazine guy anymore. And you're going down to a very golf magazine-esque setting. And you're going to see people who only knew you because you were the golf magazine guy." And so that was actually the most nervous I had ever been, because you don't know what's a transactional versus a legit relationship. And so some of the teachers and the brands that I had conversations with, who 2 months prior they couldn't get my time because I was so busy. Hey, we want you to review a training aid. Hey, we want you at this golf course. Hey, we want you to do this or this or this. Now the tables have turned, and it's like, what do I have to really offer them? And coming out of that, I shouldn't be surprised, but I was blown away that it went so much better than it ever could have gone. I saw former colleagues, teachers who were very well connected to the golf magazine brand, gave them hugs and treated it as if nothing was different. And that meant the world to me, because I think it gave me the confidence to be like, all right, personal and business, very separate. Um, we're not, again, we are competitors, but we're not. And now let's just go out and do what your focus is, which is building this brand the right way. So um, I wasn't nervous about it, because I really do truly feel like I was meant to be an entrepreneur. I get bored doing the same thing over and over. And as an entrepreneur, as you can imagine, launching a brand, like, it's never a boring second or a day that's the exact same. And that that's what gets me up every morning. That and then seeing my daughter, obviously. So that yeah, there weren't a whole lot of nerves. It was just excitement, and it hasn't stopped. Knock on wood. That excitement. I still get excited when the CEO of a golf company says, "Let's meet." I'm like, "Oh man, this could be it. This could be the big one." So I get a kick out of this, man. It's fun.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Like the second this stops being fun, what are we doing? Like, oh, we'll go do something else. But that's really cool. I like the way you describe it from kind of an entrepreneurial standpoint, because that's really what it is, right? We don't really always think of these creators, especially if they're just kind of doing vlog content or what's in the bag type stuff. But like, it really is, your own brand is your own business in a lot of ways, and I think that's a really interesting and unique perspective from you. So I appreciate you kind of diving into that a little bit. So
Of course.
In terms of launching this new brand, right? So I want to pick on a little bit more of what you mentioned in that last question I asked you about the competition, quote unquote, right? So again, I think we're all so new in this space in terms of golf content creation. Like, a phrase I hear repeated a lot when talking to people like yourself, other people in the industry, is it really is the cliche of like a rising tide lifts all boats, right? Like, people watching Grant Horvat and Bryson DeChambeau, that's good for people like us who want to live in this space that previously had not existed, right? So people like them who are establishing golf content creation as a legitimate form of media, that's a good thing. But there is, I guess I could say that there's tracks being worn in terms of the early stages of this, in terms of what consumers come to expect from golf content. And I think you're doing something very different than what has previously been established. So how do you try to navigate what your brand is, what the content is that you're producing with respect to what has been successful, while also trying to carve your own niche, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Look, one of the things that I learned very early on when I worked at Entrepreneur Magazine, I was editing articles from CEOs and high level executive directors and VCs and people who have been very successful in their careers, right? And I always would kind of be like, well, how do you handle competition? And competition's a good thing. I mean, that is a very good thing. And I look at it, like I said before, what we're doing, it's competitive because of eyeballs and consumers, and there's only so much money that a consumer can spend. But one of the main things I took out of a lot of these articles and you know conversations or fireside chats, if you will, or keynote speakers said there's enough money to go around for everybody, as long as you build that on audience, as long as you find that niche. And so for me, um, like you said, I'm trying to balance the things that have been successful, like the breaking 50 stuff that Bryson does, with kind of the old school golf instruction, but blend it together where it's very relatable and it's engaging and it's not so buttoned up. And one of the best, I think, compliments I got, I'll give him a shout out, was from Jake Thurm. He's Kevin Streelman's coach. He's coached a couple other PGA guys, still current PGA guys, and he's a feature to watch on both Digest and Golf Magazine. And we were at a shoot last week in San Antonio, and at the end of the shoot, gave me a big hug and he's like, "Yo, brother, just want to let you know, like, this was the most fun I've had on a shoot in a long time. Like, it was really casual. It was well run. There wasn't time where we were just kind of like, what do we do next?" And everyone was super engaged and nice. Like, they all had the energy to film like 30 videos in a day and a half. And to hear him say that, who he does it for a living, he's on camera with other brands. That meant the world to me because I think it again gave us validation to something that we're doing is right. And it's easy sometimes to get lost in the competition of, well, they make it look so easy. They're getting hundreds of thousands of eyeballs. Like, why can't that be us? It's like it just takes time. And so for our niche and what we're still trying to develop, um, it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, we're going to continue to evolve as a brand. And so for Rainmakers, it's like, how can we blend the golf instruction that people like and that quick hitting stuff with kind of the longer form stuff where it is me having a challenge that kind of fits that breaking 50 mold of, what we see from Bryson or Grant. Um, and there's a fine balance to do that. But I think the validation we get ultimately is because we have those top teachers and the access to some of these top courses to really draw people in to say, we're not just some guy who like decided to start this at 40 in his basement after having a career in, health insurance because he loves the game of golf. And no knock on the guys who may have done that, but I think I had to remind myself um, early on in this that like this is your business now, so you have to take it seriously. You kind of have to can't be a yes man all the time, which I think was a fault of mine in previous jobs that I had or businesses that I had launched. And I think having that and understanding where we are and what the vision is helps me every day to kind of work towards that ultimate success that we want.
Mhm. And you talk about it being a business, and for you guys especially, it really is because you're so much more than just the channels that you have. Like
Yeah.
you do provide services, if I'm recalling correctly from our
Yep.
previous business conversations. Talk a little bit about that what Rainmakers is outside of YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. So Rainmakers, there's two parts of the business. We are a content shop. We have our own videos. We produce our own videos, and we have the YouTube, and we've grown tremendously. I mean, our goal was to be 10,000 subscribers by Master Sunday. We were at like just under 11,000. Right now, we're about 11,200 subscribers. So we're growing. And for reference, when I left Golf Magazine, we were at like 7,300 subscribers in December. So we're growing, which is great. But ultimately, that's an asset that we have. At some point, I want to hit 25 and then 50 and then 100K and make our channel legit. But the other side of the business is where we are an agency. So if a brand comes to us and says, we are a golf training aid. We have no idea what we're doing. Can you help us? I can say, sure can. Like, this is what I did for 10 years of my career, working at Bro Bible and Native Content, running a content marketing agency and being at Golf Magazine with the relationships and seeing how like that world works. I can absolutely help you guys market and grow your brand. Let's just figure out the right strategy. So there's two brands that I've been working with. Pure One Golf, which is a club face that's 50% smaller, helps you focus more, helps your ball striking, gets your sequencing and tempo down. And it's been amazing to work with them and just see the reception. We've done events with Golf Ranch. We've gotten, top teachers included. And we've seen so far, again, touch wood, pretty good success there. And then there's a soon to launch golf instruction app called The Long Game, which is basically a virtual golf app. They assign a student to a teacher, and I'm essentially their marketing arm, an extension of their business of getting that content with these top teachers that I'm already filming with and getting those quick hitting tips and the playbook for someone like me who's trying to break 80. When you get assigned to a teacher, you get kind of their expertise on how to reach your golf goals, right? And so it's sort of what we already do with Rainmakers, but instead of having that content live on YouTube and distributed by, us, we provide it to them and help, figure out, okay, how can we get this distributed to the masses? How can we get golfers to be intrigued by this, engage with this, and ultimately either buy the product or sign up for the product, right? And I think it's a unique approach because in my eyes, it was, again, I am a 40-year-old playing golf and becoming an influencer. I had to be real. Like, if this flops and YouTube, I just am not getting the views and I'm not monetizing it, I'm not seeing the traction I want, how can I protect myself? Well, I can offer services that I've done for 15, 16 years now, which is create content and strategy for brands. And so it's kind of cool when you see sometimes it stays separate and other times it blends together where people are like, well, we actually want you to post videos on your Rainmakers because you have a channel, but we also want you to help guide our strategy for our channels that are owned. And it's like, well, that's kind of the perfect marriage because now we get to go on shoots, film with guys that I can use on YouTube for my stuff and distribute. And then on the other side, help them. So it's fun. I think that's ultimately what I wanted to build, and it's again very unique in the golf space because it's, in my opinion, isn't something that you often see.
Mm. Yeah, it's certainly unique because you look at a lot of the other big time creators who they started with like, okay, how can I just film my golf game and have fun and get as many views as I can, and then it
Mhm.
turns into a business. You look at Good Good, who's now got merch and literal office space and all kinds of other stuff. Dude Perfect in a similar vein, and a lot of these other places. But your and Rainmakers being unique in that it started as both really from the jump.
Yeah.
One kind of informing and helping the other, and I think that's just a really interesting and honestly smart way to go about doing it. So before I get you out of here, you've done some really cool stuff. Back to kind of the content stuff, at least what the average person's going to consume. You've done a lot of really cool stuff recently. Again, I know I referenced the kind of teaching mini series down at I think that was Panther National with
Yep.
Xander Shoffley and JT and Cam Young and others. So what's next? What can people get excited about with Rainmakers? Where should they be looking to see you guys' work coming up?
Yeah, so we've got a bunch of shoots coming up. We just finished some down in West Palm. We were down in San Francisco a month before that. We were down in San Antonio filming with two Corn Ferry guys and Dalton Joyce, who's a content creator. So we've got a bunch of content right now being edited that'll be distributed both on Pure One and obviously our YouTube channel as well. And then we were lucky enough to lock in a partnership with Athlon Sports, which allows us to distribute our content and not only get that on their website, but they include it in their daily golf newsletter, which has, I think, 330,000 subscribers, which is, for us, a humongous asset because I never wanted to start a website of more golf tips. It's not what people need. And it's like, why swim upstream trying to compete with the golf magazines and digests and, WRXs of the world or My Golf Spy. Like it just wasn't going to be successful. So, going kind of this alternative approach of, well, let's utilize a legacy brand like that who is going to distribute our content. So you can find us on Athlon Sports in addition to our YouTube. And then we've got a lot of shoots coming up this summer. I mentioned Jake Thurm earlier. We may be going to a Corn Ferry event with him in Chicago late July. We've got a trip to Oregon in June. And then some stuff around here in Seattle with some top teachers, both at Chambers Bay and a private club over in Bellevue with a guy named Jack Kelly. So really exciting stuff. As I mentioned, like the humbling experience is having these guys buy into it and seeing them be like, you know what, this idea that this 40-year-old guy wanted to do is actually legit and something I want to be part of, and seeing that they understand the value of all these moving parts. Um, when I actually sit and think about it, which is usually like when I'm on a bike ride or going for a run, I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like this is, like I wish I could just go play golf every day and film it and be a content creator like some of these guys, but like I get my kicks doing it this way. And finding that niche for me is that's the exciting part because I think about where I want to be ultimately in a year, 2, 3 years, and it's very clear that we're working towards that. So, yeah, I think just building the brand, getting that community of people to buy into it, like these teachers have, and some of these courses have, and some of these PR and other brands have. That's kind of our next step, and where you'll be able to find us.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome stuff, man. Definitely wishing you the best of luck. I know being able to work with you on some other stuff and get some exciting things that we've been chatting about. Like, definitely looking forward to seeing what Rainmakers already becomes, and just it sounds like you've got an awesome plan for it going forward. So, really appreciate you taking some time to come on. And for those of you that want to check it out, again, Nick deflects from himself, but has a fun social presence on his own. You can find him at Dimengo on Instagram, but then Rainmakers at Rainmakers GC on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. So again, Nick, thanks a bunch, and we'll talk soon.